So as with all of our presentations here at Royal Roads University, we begin by acknowledging our traditional lands. So Royal Roads University is located upon the traditional lands of the Kosepsum and Lekwungen ancestors and families. It's with great gratitude that we now live, learn, work, and play, where past and present and future Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, faculty, and staff come together. And we have come together today to talk about these specialized programs for higher education professionals we have here at Royal Roads University. My name is Selena Kunar, and I'm an education advisor here on campus, or virtually on campus these days, to help navigate any questions and comments we have about these programs. And I am so excited to be joined by Dr. Russ Wilde, Program Head of our Master of Arts in Higher Education, Administration, and Leadership. Thanks so much for being here, Russ.
Thanks so much, Selena. Great to be here with everybody.
We have some folks joining us today as well that you might not see on camera or hear through your audio, but you will definitely see in our chat box. So a big hello to Lisa Murray, who's one of our wonderful enrollment advisors, who'll be helping answer any questions and popping in helpful links in our chat box today. Speaking of our chat box, we would love to get to know all of you a little bit better. So if you feel comfortable, please take that chat box for a spin. Let us know, where in the world are you joining from today? What world within higher education do you work in? What brought you to our webinar today? Anything you'd like to share about who you are and why you're here today will really help us understand what kind of information we can provide to be most helpful to everyone who's joining us live. So while some introductions are coming in, I'll quickly run through how we're going to spend our time together today. So after our round of introductions, we are going to head into a brief breeze through of the Royal Roads University experience. Of course, talk about these three wonderful programs themselves, cap our formal presentation with a run through of the application and requirements, and then of course, leave time for any questions and conversations as well. That said, as things come up for you throughout the session today, please pop them in the chat box as we'd be happy to move through our conversation together. So with that, let me pop into the chat box. So we have Lisa joining us from her home in Saanich. We have Rodrigo from Nicaragua, a secondary school science teacher looking to grow as an educator leader. Welcome, Rodrigo. We have Mel from Ontario, London, Ontario, Canada, and they are the registrar of a small institution and looking to learn more about STEM. Sasha joining from Jamaica, a teacher of English, language, and reading, but here because they are interested in technology and education. Very cool, welcome. And Jennifer joining from Campbell River, who is currently an admissions manager for a private college, looking for information on STEM as well. Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Oh, and we have Miley joining from Prince George, currently working for the College of New Caledonia as the International Student Engagement Coordinator. Well, we have an audience here from all across Canada and the world as well. Well, welcome. Curtis from Edmonton, Alberta, working in the School of Business at a public institution and looking for more information. Well, Curtis, let's get started. And to kick off, we want to just give you a brief overview of why Royal Roads. What do we do here? Why should you learn here? Well, to start off, we like to share that we have profs who know your name. Our professors, they don't talk at you, they talk with you, peer to peer. And it's when our professors are peers that classes become these sort of think tanks and learning becomes a way of life on our campus. You'll notice very quickly, we are not about one-sided lectures, that sage on the stage mentality. We're not about furious note-taking. What we are about is engaging conversations, open dialogues, where we explore new theories and shared perspectives from everyone who is in our classrooms. Something that you'll hopefully notice throughout our whole presentation today is that here at Railroads, learning based on life is incredibly important to us. Here at Railroads, our philosophy is that your education should not simply impact your experiences, but it's your experiences that should be impacting your education. Being a university for working professionals means that our students are encouraged to bring in challenges they're facing in their real life into our classrooms. And we use those as the foundation for our discussions, our case studies, and we solve them together. We create an environment where it's not just theory or hypothetical learning, but real world problem solving in real time. So, what you're learning in our classrooms can actively and immediately be applied into your professional worlds. Our professors are what we call scholar practitioners. So, folks who are, of course, academic experts in their fields, but they're also out in the world putting into practice what they're bringing into our classrooms. And speaking of our classrooms, well, we have our wonderful teaching faculty. You have some equally wonderful folks within your cohort learning with you. So, here at Railroads, many of our programs subscribe to the cohort learning model. And that means you start your program with a carefully curated group of folks and you move through together all the way through to convocation. This is really exciting because what starts as a group of academic learners blossoms into this really interconnected network of people with unique backgrounds, perspectives, and experiences that you'll notice complement and challenge your own. We're very fortunate that in our classrooms, we have leaders learning from each other, and that allows us to create an experience and a professional network for our students that goes far beyond their convocation date. And you truly end up building connections for life. Um, in my role, I'm actively connecting with alumni. And one of the first things they're so eager to share is, hey, I'm still chatting with my cohort. Their WhatsApp groups, their Facebook chats, they're getting together for yearly events where some folks are concentrated across Canada and the world. And it's so incredible to know that these environments we created in a short period of time, for our MA programs 2 years, but these programs 7 months, they truly do last a lifetime. On a previous education and technology webinar with some alumni that we brought together from our different master's programs, we had one of our students share that in their WhatsApp chat, they're a group of K to 12 teachers, and they're always sharing when their school has an opening for hiring. And they say, hey, Joe, this would be great for you. And they've actually had some of their learners be hired into their various institutions because they have a network of knowing when there's openings inside their sector. And that's pretty cool. Again, touching back on learning based on life, we see life as a qualification. We're going to talk about this much more when we get to the admissions piece of today's session. But here at Railroads, in short, we go beyond the traditional admissions model and we look at much more than just your academic transcript. We look at you and all of you. So, your professional experiences, your personal triumphs and challenges, all of the things that have culminated into who you are today. Because understanding you helps us understand what learning we can provide you and what experiences you can provide to the learners learning alongside you. So, I'm going to flip to this next slide to highlight how we are built differently. So, since day one, we really have stood for something different. That's something you see reflected in our philosophy and our physical location. So we're actually a national heritage site, but also in the blended learning model that we pioneered, which brought the best of on campus and online learning into one space. That said, while we are so proud of our exceptional space and the learning environment we're able to create within our walls, we are equally excited and if not more passionate about the learning that we're able to provide outside of these walls. We believe that learning should be powerful enough to transcend location. And that's why the Railroads University experience isn't limited to the walls within these photos that you see, but moving into your homes through networks, through conversations like we're having now, because we believe that a life changing education should be able to reach learners wherever they are in the world. So, taking a quick look at this slide, the top left photo, we have Hatley Castle. You may recognize it. It is a fun space to meet community members from all over Victoria and beyond because they come to check it out as the X-Men Castle, the building featured in Deadpool, and also a Disney franchise called The Descendants as well. And while we love Hatley Castle, a bit beyond in this photo, you can see all of our new and heritage buildings where we engage in our learning classrooms, our innovation centers. We have brand new science labs um, and other amenities too, like our gym and our cafeteria. On our campus, we're very lucky to be on over 500 acres of overgrowth forest. So within that, we have a variety of curated gardens. Here you see our Japanese gardens. And all of our gardens, as well as our space, are well loved by students, staff, and faculty, but of course the greater community as well. And the photo here on the bottom left, that's a Esquimalt Lagoon attached to our campus. And that is also well loved by all sorts of critters as it is a registered bird sanctuary. And then finally, in this photo here, you see online learning because um, we would be remiss not to highlight that here at Rural Roads, we have this online learning model, and that is just as important as our physical space. So with that, I'm going to pass the microphone over to you, Russ, to tell us about our exciting fully online programs.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Selena. And welcome to everyone. It's great to be here with you today. Just let me tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll give you a bit of an overview of some of the programs that we offer. As Selena said, my name is Russ Wilde. I'm relatively new to Royal Roads University. I've worked for about the last 25 years in Canada's higher education sector. I've held maybe not most of the jobs that are possible, but many of them. I've been faculty at different institutions, as well as had a number of staff roles related to distance and online learning, and then spent over a decade as one of the senior leaders at Alberta's largest community college. So I've had a fair bit of background in Canadian higher education. As well, my academic specialties are in distance and online learning, and especially the governance and management of such systems within single institutions, and also looking at collaborations in that space across institutions. So today I'm going to tell you about 3 programs that we have. They're all part of the suite of programs that exist under the Master of Arts in Higher Education Administration and Leadership. But today I'm going to highlight 3 graduate certificates that we offer within our programs. Next slide. So why higher education administration and leadership? There are, how will I put it? Experience tells me that the administration of higher ed is far more complex than is usually thought. I can't think of another field that brings together so many factors and so much complexity and has to deal with so many issues of individuals as well as groups and politics and society and finance and human resources and just about everything else you can imagine in order to run smoothly. And that's why we offer the Master of Arts program in higher education, administration, and leadership, is to provide our learners with a solid foundation in all of these issues and a basis for managing that kind of complexity. And you can see some of these that are listed in the graphic that's on your screen right now. Managing complexity, student success, leading change, managing technology, fostering innovation. And there are many others. We've left some of these blank just to indicate that there are always other topics and issues. Some of you may wish to put in the chat some of the issues that you're dealing with in your own institutions or experience that perhaps should be addressed as well. But these are the kinds of issues that we bring together and treat both individually and holistically through our programs to give individuals a strong foundation in how these kinds of institutions run and the issues that need to be dealt with. Next slide, please. So like I said, there is, all our courses fall under the larger Master of Arts program. But today I want to highlight that there are other routes that we make available. One is the Graduate Diploma in Higher Education Administration and Leadership, which is essentially the first year of the master's program. The three that I'll talk about today in more detail are the graduate certificates, one in Business Development in International Education, the second, the Graduate Certificate in Systems Leadership, and the third, the Graduate Certificate in Strategic Enrollment Management, which is brand new, and I'll have a little more to say about why that's unique in the slides to come. Next one, please. So here's the common features of these graduate certificates. They're 9-credit programs, 3 courses each, 7 months in length. They are entirely accessible online, and they have the option of laddering into the Master of Arts program. There are two course exceptions to that in Strategic Enrollment Management, but I'll highlight those. But for the very most part, the courses that you would take, should you choose to engage in one of these graduate certificates, would be fully applicable to the Master of Arts program, should you choose later to move on in your studies. Next one, please. So let's start with Graduate Certificate in Business Development in International Education. This is, and I'm excited to see in the chat, some of you introduced yourselves and are from countries other than Canada. Very exciting. We love to have international students in our cohorts, bring such a diverse perspective. That's really helpful. This particular graduate certificate is all about better understanding the international learner experience, both from the perspective of learners coming to Canada to study, but more particularly the management and business development for educational, international education programs at Canadian or similar institutions. And let's go to the next slide, Selena, because I can talk about everything there. There's 3 courses. I want to highlight that this represents a stream within the larger master's program. So if you were taking the master's program, this is also a stream of learning that you could select. And so if you were to do the graduate certificate, you would already have completed one of the streams within the master's program. But it really starts with HEAL 525, that is an overall global perspectives on international education for practitioners within the international education community. The next course, HEAL 535, really focuses on organizational culture and interpersonal, and not just interpersonal, but interinstitutional, intercommunity communication that needs to take place. Some of the challenges that exist in working across and through different cultures, such an important part of being an effective practitioner for an international program. And HEAL 545 really digs into the business of international education, looks at the contracts, the legal implications, the political, financial issues that are involved, really gives people a strong grounding in the issues that are faced on the ground by practitioners and developers of international education programs and departments and systems. Next slide, please. So the next one that we'll look at is the Graduate Certificate in Systems Leadership in Higher Education. Again, this is one of the streams within the Master of Arts program. And yeah, let's jump to the next slide. It's easy to describe everything from there. Great, thank you. So there are, again, 3 courses here. HEAL 550, Systems Thinking and Strategic Planning in Higher Education. This is an amazing foundational course for anyone who wants to better understand the big picture of systems thinking, strategic planning within post-secondary education, this is a fantastic course. And it sets up for success not only in this certificate, but in the rest in the larger MA program. HEAL 520, the Global and National Perspectives on Higher Education, gives the big picture, a little bit like one of the courses in the previous certificate that we talked about, but instead of being completely focused on the perspective of those running international education programs or setting them up, this is more from the perspective that anyone who's working in higher education should have of the different perspectives on higher education, both within Canada, but also around the world. So a little bit of a global overview. And then HEAL 530 is all about change management, but contextualized to the higher ed environment. I can tell you from years of experience as a leader in higher education that many of the approaches and models of change management certainly are applicable to the higher ed context, but they really need to be understood within that context to understand some of the forces at play, the kinds of communication, the kinds of expectations that are common within higher ed institutions, the kind of collaboration and collegial atmosphere that both enables and sometimes acts as a barrier to change in higher ed. This course examines change management and moving forward, but very much within the unique environment of higher education practitioners. And the next slide. Now, this brings us to the last one that I'm going to talk about, and that's the Graduate Certificate in Strategic Enrollment Management. This is a first of its kind program in Canada, another short-ish program, 9 credits, 3 courses. This will be our first time running this program, and it builds on a lot of the work that's in the MA program and the other graduate certificates, but we're adding a couple of new courses that are really specific to the challenges and interests of those who are charged with planning the strategic enrollment of an institution, keeping the right mix of students, helping people to progress, planning for those numbers, all of the above. This is a very challenging area in higher ed administration, and so we've developed this to meet the really unique needs of these practitioners. If we could look at the next slide, please. So again, 3 courses. It includes, this graduate certificate includes HEAL 550, the systems thinking and strategic planning. Really foundational, makes tons of sense for anyone who's involved in strategic enrollment management. But we're adding 2 new courses, and these don't appear anywhere else in the MA program. These are unique to this graduate certificate right now. Perhaps at some point in the future they'll be added as optional courses, electives within the MA program, but for now they're exclusive to this certificate. So this program has been built around the idea of individuals who have some experience in strategic enrollment management actually forming and learning a strong base in the theory and practice of strategic enrollment management, and that happens in HEAL 580. And then in HEAL 585, the emphasis will be on actually creating a workable strategic enrollment management plan for an institution. And so we're certainly, the target audience for this is people who have at least some enrollment management experience, because this is a highly practical program. And at the end of it, you will actually have learned what you need to do to create a completely workable, if still somewhat basic, strategic enrollment management plan for an institution. This looks like a fantastic program. We're really excited to offer this. Again, a first of its kind in Canada. And Selena, I think that this is my opportunity to hand the mic back to you.
Thank you so much, Russ. In the short time we gave you, you did such a wonderful run through of our programs and all of the courses within them as well.
Thanks,
Um,
Rodrigo. I see you clapping.
I love these emojis. Thank you so much, Rodrigo. Um, we're going to take a few seconds or a few minutes rather and run through some admissions information. But I'll share that we're just around the corner from having time for a question and answer. So if you had some questions bubbling up for you as we ran through the railroad experience, the programs themselves, please pop them in the chat box, as this is a great time to start queuing up questions for us to answer together. So, to kick off the admissions part of today's session, let's talk about the admission requirements themselves. So, as I alluded to a bit earlier in our webinar, here at Railroads, we have a variety of admission pathways into our program. So, on this slide here, you see our standard admissions as well as our flexible admissions. So, for folks coming under standard admissions, for all of these programs, we would require a 4-year or comparable undergraduate degree from a recognized post secondary institution, as well as a minimum of 3 years of relevant paid work experience within recognized higher education institutions. So, public or accredited colleges, universities, polytechs, institutions providing formal tertiary programs, and including some leadership experience. So I'll note that we have that little asterisk there beside leadership experience. And that's because here at Railroads, we recognize that leadership can be defined as many things. So you're welcome to head to our website to get a better idea of what leadership experience could mean to us. But some examples include roles where you lead others towards a shared goal or outcome, leadership roles in volunteer organizations, of course, formal organizational leadership roles in which you directly supervise staff or faculty, supervise staff and performance, rather. But leadership also can be looked at as overcoming life challenges for yourself or others, which involve navigating complex systems and perhaps have resulted in positive community change beyond yourself. So please, I recommend heading to our website to get a better idea of what leadership means to us. Because more often than not, this is the point that sometimes prospective students think, oh, some leadership experience. Ooh, I don't have, the word manager in my title. Maybe I don't count. You probably do, because at Railroads, we really recognize all of the different factors that comprise leadership experience. And speaking of looking at a variety of factors, next we have our flexible admissions. So, flexible admissions is for folks who may not meet our standard admission requirements, but we recognize have significant work experience, world experience in the field, and can be contributors to our classrooms. So, for flexible admissions, we normally require a minimum of 7 years of work experience in higher education institutions, as well as a minimum of 3 years of leadership experience. We'll highlight as well that we were noting a minimum of 3 years of leadership experience, but in these programs, we encourage emerging leaders to apply. So, leaders who have fewer than 3 years of leadership experience, but have been in recent leadership position or people management roles for 2 or more years and have demonstrated exceptional leadership potential through their professional and life experiences and are preparing for further leadership roles and otherwise meet our standard admissions requirements. I'll note that flexible admissions is something we assess on a case by case basis. When you are applying to Royal Roads, there will be no box for you to check whether you are standard admissions or flexible admissions. That's for us to look at because we're going to be looking at all of you and all of your supporting documents that you send in, which we'll touch on in a moment. So if you have any questions about what the term emerging leader could mean for you, what flexible admissions means for you, please connect with our offices as we're happy and always willing to help navigate those conversations. So, how exactly do you go about applying? What does that process look like? Well, it kicks off with an online application. And that online application currently includes a fee of $126.28. Once that online application is in, a portal opens up for you to start submitting your supporting documents. So for these programs, we're looking for official transcripts, a personal statement, a structured resume, and 2 letters of reference. Again, our website is a wonderful resource for when you're putting together these supporting documents. For example, for the personal statement, we have some guiding questions online to help you understand what we're looking for within this document. We also have information on our structured resume. Different headers and sections we like included in this document to make sure that we have all of your experiences and they shine bright. And of course, we have some more practical information too, as in how you can submit your official transcripts to our offices, who your referees should be, and how they can submit their letters, and some guidelines around page count and things like that as well. So please head to our website. But again, our teams are always here and eager to support you as you're putting together these documents. So, upcoming intakes. We are actually right around the corner from some of our 2021 intakes. So, for a graduate certificate in business development in international education, our start date is a bit later this year with October 25th, 2021. That puts the application deadline at July 25th, 2021. If you're thinking of our graduate certificate in strategic enrollment management or systems leadership in higher education, those programs begin this August, so August 16th, 2021, putting their application deadline at July 16th, 2021. So if you're interested in starting these programs with us this year, I highly recommend getting that online application in before the application deadline to let our offices know that you're moving towards a seat in the programs. And I have mentioned the words our offices many times. Who are that? Who are they? What are these offices? Well, we have a variety of student services here on our campus eager to support you. So, our offices of accessibility services, counseling services, career learning and development, international student services, Indigenous student services, student engagement, and of course, our rec center as well. I noticed quite a few questions targeted to our financial aids and awards office. So we've popped in a slide here to make sure that you have their direct information to connect with our wonderful financial aids and awards specialists. These specialists have their fingertips on resources available, both internal to rural roads and external as well, to help support your preparation for continued education. So if you have any questions about loans, awards, scholarship research, research scholarships, other funding, please connect with our offices on this slide here. You have their direct website, but as well as their direct phone lines as well. And they do have a pretty fun blog that I recommend checking out. So I see the notification on my chat box here, and I'm going to guess some of those are our wonderful friend Lisa, popping helpful links and comments in our chat box. So Lisa is just one of the beautiful examples of our enrollment team here on campus, eager to help you answer any questions about these programs or any others you have on our campus as well. So you can reach Lisa and her team at learn.more@ruralroads.ca. And if you're joining us internationally, our international admissions and registration teams would be happy to continue the conversation at learn.more.international@ruralroads.ca. And with that, we have come to a close on our formal presentation today. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing my slides and pop into the chat box so we can start chatting about some of the questions that are asked today. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick scroll through, and I see Lisa was popping links in along the way. So to Rural learning, teaching, and research model, all of our program pages, as well as links to learn more about the courses themselves. We have, oh, Lisa, thank you so much, popped in the links that talks about the leadership definitions included in our admission requirements page, and some information about how documents can be submitted to our offices. And then we have a comment here from Miley. I'd like to send kudos to Lisa M. I emailed RRU in May, and Lisa has been extremely patient with me about my questions. Thank you so much, Miley. Lisa is just wonderful. So I'm so glad we have her working on our campus and working with us in the School of Education and Technology as well. Lisa has also shared links to our program schedules, which is wonderful. And we have a great question from Rodrigo to kick us off. Are these programs self-paced or have synchronous classes? So I'll toss that over to you, Russ.
Yeah, absolutely. These courses are all fully online. They're they're not self-paced. They have definite start and end points, and so you progress along with the rest of the members, other participants in the course. They do often include some synchronous online engagement, but generally it's not absolutely required to attend. They are recorded so that people can participate, but we do highly recommend that if possible, given some of the constraints of time zones and things like that, that people do participate in the synchronous sessions, but if not, they are recorded.
Thanks, Russ. And thanks, Rodrigo, for the great question. Please feel free to pop more questions in our chat box. Lisa, you as well. If you have questions that you find prospects are frequently asking, feel free to share them here. So we have a question from Nicole. If we complete a certificate, how long do we have to decide to go on to the master's? Months, years, or indefinite?
Selena, that's a great question. I don't know that I know the policy from the admissions group.
Absolutely, such a great question. And what we'll do is we'll actually, Lisa, if you don't mind, we'll wait for you to pop the answer in our chat box, or
can I talk?
here now. Absolutely, come on in.
I just thought sometimes it's just
Yay.
chat. Yeah, there's no real time limit to that, to when you apply to the master's afterwards. The thing to keep in mind is that as long as there are no major changes to the program, often people even wait a couple of years before it can fit into their schedule. So again, as long as there aren't any major changes that have happened in the program in the time in between the grad cert and the MA, you should be good to go. Okay.
Amazing. Thanks, Lisa.
Lisa.
So we have a question here from Mel. How large are your cohorts? Specifically, how many students will be accepted into the SEM stream?
I can answer that one. Right now, the average in most courses is somewhere around 20 to 25. SEM for this fall currently has 8 registrants confirmed, but it could go as high as about 20, or even just a little higher. But that would be about the maximum you'd see.
Absolutely. We have another great question from Rodrigo. So is it completely possible to continue working and pursuing the graduate certificate?
Do you want me to take that one, Selena? It certainly is. Of course, so much depends on an individual's schedule and work and home life and all of that. But I can tell you that I completed all of my graduate education through programs of this nature, not at Railroads, but elsewhere, while working full time. It's certainly possible. And these courses are all set up so that, and in fact, explicitly designed so that working adults can still complete these while employed full time. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I echo Russ with that. I am currently a learner here at Railroads University. And while I work here, I recognize the wonderful aspects of the learning we provide, but I also recognize the opportunity to continue working while doing my education. And that's why I was really drawn to these programs. Typically, you'll be doing one course at a time. So one course, maybe 9 weeks-ish, have a 1 week break, another 9 week course, and that's how you move through our programs. That said, some programs on our campus, not these guys, but some are more intensive. And we'll note that if you're sharing interest, but you'll be doing one or two or three classes at a time, those can get a little busy. But for these programs specifically, absolutely for working professionals. So we had a question here. So there is definitely a possibility to get a scholarship for a graduate certificate program. Ooh, I will toss that one over to our friends in financial aids and awards. Um, at Railroads, we have a variety of scholarships available that are needs based, that are um, sector based, a variety of different criteria for our scholarships. So it depends on who you are and your background. But what's equally as handy is once our awards, our financial aid and awards specialists get to know you a little bit better, they can share similar awards and scholarships external to railroads that meet the criteria that you do as well. So please connect with our offices because while we do have opportunities at railroads, our railroad staff are connected to some opportunities outside of railroads as well. And Lisa has shared their website. So thank you so much, Lisa. Um, yes, our so Lisa shared that our new webpage offers a helpful research tool that folks may wish to explore. We did get a brand new website last week, so it's all new and shiny and ready to be explored. So please feel free to explore our website. So we have a question here from Curtis. Oh, great question. Can you ladder from the graduate certificate to the diploma and then to the master's in the same stream, specifically systems leadership specialization? So I'll toss that over to you, Russ.
And so the answer to that is sure. Um, the credits are all transferable, and in the case of the of systems leadership, yeah, there would be no problem.
Amazing. Again, actually, my academic journey with Burl Rose started in exactly that way. I began with a graduate certificate and thought, okay, I can do this. This is working with my schedule. This is a topic I'm interested. Let's keep going. I moved up to the graduate diploma, fell so in love with my cohort. We spent a year together. I just had to keep going on. And then I moved right into the MA. So that's absolutely a pathway here at Railroads. Oh, we have an awesome question from Jennifer. So Jennifer can see start and end dates on our schedules, but nothing shows the days/hours a week. Is this typically something that's 5 days a week or something that's less days a week? Are you able to tell us a little bit about the time commitment someone can expect when undertaking these programs, Russ?
I will do my best. The time question comes up a lot, and I'll start by saying that how much time it takes does depend a lot on the individual, and sometimes a little bit of the course. I'll say for myself, I'm a little bit of a slower reader, so it often takes me a little longer in the programs that I've done. But in general, with each course, I would say you would think probably not less than 5 hours a week that you'd be devoting to it, but probably more than that. And especially at certain times during the course around big assignments, you're probably looking at sometimes more like 10 hours a week, but it's probably going to vary somewhere in that range. Again, it's going to depend a lot on your individual style and strengths, but something like that. And then the other part of the question was, yes, we do have their start and end dates to these courses. Um, Most of the learning activity will be asynchronous, just meaning that you'll do it when suits you best, readings and things like that, interacting through discussion boards. But for most of the courses, there will also be um, probably once every 2 weeks, usually, there will be a synchronous session scheduled at a certain time and day. Those are currently left to the individual instructors to schedule, to work with their group of students to find out what the best time would be when most people could be in attendance. And they set those up, but generally speaking, those are recorded so that if people aren't able to attend, they're still made available to view at a later time.
Amazing. Thanks for the question. So we had a question here from Rodrigo. Since I'm from Nicaragua, then would I need to start my process with the International Admissions Office? And Lisa followed up with, yes, correct, and shared our learn.more.international at ruralroads.ca. I'll share that our international admissions team is made up of RISIA advisors, so Regulated International Student Immigration Advisors, who are certified to provide information on things like student visas, postgraduate work permits, and all those sorts of things. So please connect with learn.more.international at railroads.ca, as you'll be connecting with folks who specialize in the region that you're coming from, but also in any other pieces of the puzzle that are required for international students looking to attend our programs here at Railroads. Okay, so that looks like we have come to the end of our questions today. I'll leave a few extra seconds before we get started. I noted Lisa had put in some information in our chat box around the learning in our programs as well. So I'll read that out because it was such helpful information. Lisa had shared that most of the learning is asynchronous. Therefore, you can complete your assignments, connect with your instructors and cohort, and can just contribute to discussion forums according to your own schedule, though consistent contribution is expected. And the exception to this may be webinars, which are generally recorded, and team meetups, up to you and your team to schedule, and then the firm assignment deadlines. So thank you so much for sharing that, Lisa. So with that, I think we have come to a close on our session today. Russ, before we wrap up, was there anything else you wanted to share before we sign off?
Nothing special, just to say that as a relatively new member of the Royal Roads community, I just want to tell everyone what a great institution it is, and really encourage you to apply.
Thanks so much, Russ. We are so happy to have you. Lisa shared one more wonderful comment in our chat box where we encourage our applicants to chat with our amazing alumni who can share their RU experience and how they're applying their learning. So if you'd like to connect with alumni from any of these programs, our graduate certificate in strategic enrollment management aside, as we'll have our graduates on that soon, please connect with learn.more at ruralroads.ca, and they can connect you to some wonderful alumni. And we're seeing words of thanks in our chat box. How wonderful. Thank you all so, so much for being here. We wish you a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, depending when and where you're watching this recording as well. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Bye.